If you people keep in your mind your objective as raising the confidence and respect for each individual in the company, I think you will all rise. I am reading a few books on Stoicism. In some way, it is the concept of sthita prajna that we all see in Mahabharata, in Bhagavad Gita. I must say, in terms of the employee orientation, I think the Tatas did a remarkable job. The most powerful technology that exists in the world is the power of human mind. It is the job of the leaders to think of how to create new jobs leveraging these technologies.
Thank you so much, Mr. Narayana Murthy. So today we wanted to hear your thoughts and pick your brains on what it takes to build an enduring institution. I think for many decades, I think you set the benchmark for it. Right, I think everybody's benchmark was that, Infosys is the example that everybody uses, right? And every entrepreneur, the example is used is Mr. I'm sure that's a heavy. I don't know if you felt that there was a heavy burden to carry, but we wanted to hear your thoughts from before you carried that burden. So, are there any opening remarks you want to make about that before I go into my questions?
No, I think your question is a very important one. Most enduring institutions are based on a set of enduring values. When we founded Infosys, when I founded Infosys along with 6 very young fellows, they were 6, 7, 8 levels below me, Nandan, Chris, and all those people. I said that the first question that I will ask whenever we had to take an important decision was, will this decision enhance respect for Infosys in the eyes of our stakeholders, customers, employees, investors, vendor partners, government of the land, and the society. So I would say that if an institution, if the board of the institution, if the senior management of the institution, if everybody in the institution were to simply say, will this decision enhance respect for us? I can assure you that you will have longevity. So I'll just stop here because you asked me what is the secrecy of enduring. But I'll also tell you that the day Infosys management does not do this, it will go. The day Great Lakes Institute of Management leadership does not ask this question, it will go down. The beauty of aiming for respect is this, that it will bring you not just respect and honor, but it will bring you a lot of money. Let me assure you, those who look for respect, those who look for honor, those who look for affection, they will automatically get more and more and more money, particularly in the context of corporate world. And of course, even institutions like higher education institutions like this. But I'm saying corporate world because a lot of students I mean, a lot of alumni of Great Lakes are here. Therefore, I am talking about that.
Absolutely, couldn't agree with you more. And also, I think using that lens gives a certain level of clarity for decision making, right? And automatically makes you focus on the long term and not take short term decisions. So, when you started, you just started with
That again is a very difficult one. As it was this guy who said, I forget the economist, who said, in the long term, we are all dead. So it is very difficult to distinguish between long term, short term, medium term, and all of that. There's only one issue, that will this decision bring more respect for us? That's all what you ask. Forget about long term, short term, and all of that. That then you will automatically do the right thing. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So you started Infosys with just 10,000 rupees, right? When you did that, and at that time, did you really think it was going to become as big as it is today and as like a gigantic global corporation that it was going to be today? Like, or you have also been very pleasantly surprised by how things have shaped up?
Coming from a lower middle class family, I don't think I had any view that we will be worth whatever $70 to $80 billion, that we'll have a revenue of probably $19-20 billion. No, none of that was there. However, our constant desire was to do things that raise the confidence, enthusiasm, hope, and joy, and worthwhileness for every employee. And the moment an institution looks at it, then everything else will fall. The fall, I don't know how many of you read book called Den of Thieves. You would have definitely read. It's all about what happened in the Wall Street with all these great firms. The moment they all conspire to take silly decisions. So all that I was thinking, I selected these younger fellows, because I knew that they would follow the values. I knew they would listen to me carefully. I knew they would argue in an agreeable manner. I knew even if they wanted to disagree, they will disagree in an agreeable manner. Therefore, if you people keep in your mind your objective as raising the confidence, the enthusiasm, the hope, self-esteem, and respect for each individual in the company, I think you will all rise.
Absolutely. So,
I live in the same house that I have lived in the last 40 years, 39 years. I have not moved. Just because there's some money and all, I didn't go to some mansion in some part of Bangalore. We have lived in the same 60-40 plot. We are very happy. But we have taken bigger and bigger and bigger and better decisions.
So once you became a listed company, listed in the US, and even during your CEO tenure and during your chairman tenure, you were constantly answerable to the markets. You went through, the dot-com crisis. You went through the GFC, all of those things, right? So, and as a public company, there are many pressures that are there, right? So, what is it that you did and you had the team do where you've been able to preserve this ethos and these values that you're talking about in the face of all of those kinds of challenges, which are probably pushing in decision making in a different direction? So, how do you hold fast, and not more importantly, how do you make sure everybody else who are making decisions hold fast in those kinds of situations when their incentives may be more short term?
Yeah. Well, we followed a very important rule, and that is when in doubt, disclose. And when I talk of disclosure, it's only negative news. Everybody is happy to disclose positive news. That's not the issue. Therefore, the best policy is honesty. The best policy is disclosure. I'll tell you in 1995, I voluntarily gave up our business with a Fortune 10 company. I know we are all cloistered in Taj Residency. All my younger colleagues, Mohan, Nandan, Chris, they were all against it. They were all saying, no, 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 no. We have gone public 1.5 years ago. You should be very, very careful, because I was adamant about not reducing our price. Because with data, I could prove that we were delivering much better value to our customers than our competitors. And they all knew that it was very difficult for them to change. But they pleaded, no, 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 we have just gone public. This company contributes 25% of your revenue. I said, hold on, guys. Those days there were no mobile. I went out from the public phone. I called my wife and I told her, look, you're being looking after the children so far. For the next 3 to 4 years, I'll be away about 250 to 260 days in a year. Those days it was very difficult. We traveled economy on international flights. Until we reached the revenue of $1 billion and $280 million of net income, we traveled economy, everybody. And we stayed in CD hotels, absolutely third-rate hotels, because we didn't have money. So I told her that, look, I'll be away for 260. Will you please take care of the children even more? She said, don't worry, I'll do that. I came back and I told my colleague, I have decided to pull out. And we pulled out. And the customer came. I was very respectful, but I said, no, if I try to review our price, I will be shortchanging you. Will not do that. 3 days later, the CFO and I, we went to Bombay and we told them the bad news that we have decided to give up this business. And that contributed 25%. Of course, the bottom line was only 8%. Would you believe that our share price didn't go down? Actually, it went up slightly.
Wow.
This is a unique case in the history of India, I don't know world, where when you give the bad news to the investor with a mechanism as to how you will recoup that, then the confidence of investors comes into play. Therefore, my request to all of you people, the entrepreneurs assembled here is, when in doubt, disclose. In the short term, it is very painful. You will lose, but people will have a lot of trust in you. Your employees will have a lot of trust in you. Your board will have a lot of trust in you. Your investors will have a lot of trust in you. So that's what I would say.
So I had to share a personal anecdote here, even at the risk of taking up some valuable time. So during my stint at Tiger Global, which was a hedge fund, I used to cover India, and one of our big themes was offshoring. So I used to analyze Infosys, TCS, Satyam, a few companies like at that time the market leaders. With Infosys, talking about disclosure, there was so much disclosure that when you do the math of all in the head counts and the average head count and the billing rates and all of those kinds of things, you could actually derive up to like the decimal point the numbers that they disclose. Okay, so I was able to do that consistently. I was never able to do that with Satyam. Okay, and I know Mr. Ramling Raju personally. I knew and could never do that, right? And when you ask them questions, you would never get information that is said, and we all know what happened after that, right? So and I couldn't agree with you more in terms of building this long-term confidence and trust. And trust, I think, is the most important thing. That if people can take you at face value, that is the biggest asset that you can have.
There is a very well-known saying in Kannada, my mother tongue, that translated to English says, a thief's wife will always end up as a widow. So therefore, trying to take shortcut in all these things will not be good. And look, in this city itself, there are so many cases right now, and I don't want to get into the names of that gentleman. It's all there. It's all there. So many court cases, this, that. I mean, is that the way to end up? Your health will suffer. You are scared of going out. You're scared of meeting people. What is the value of all of that? So I am deliberately addressing the entrepreneurs. Please keep that in mind.
Of all the milestones and accomplishments that you've had, in your professional journey, it's so many firsts, so many milestones. What was the one that you value the most? The milestone or accomplishment?
In terms of courage, I think my ability to walk out of that Fortune 10 company. Because that required some courage. Particularly when you're a listed company, when you are going to lose 25% of your revenue. In terms of raising the image of the country, sitting on that high stool at NASDAQ, we're next to the president of NASDAQ, and becoming the first Indian company to be listed on NASDAQ. I think that was, again, a huge moment of satisfaction. When one of my brightest, I am a member of the board, he got involved in an affair with his secretary, which I came to know after 8 months. And I took decision within 3 days to clean it up. That was a very sad moment, extremely sad moment. Because this career got completely destroyed. Then, when I used to sit in the office up to 2:30 a.m., 3 a.m. in the first 10 years of producing the annual report with the youngsters. I mean, they're bright youngsters, much brighter than me. Finance, human resources, then the people who produce the the artwork, then people who do the English editing and all of that. I said, I want to be part of you. I want to lead by example. I think that kind of the moment of joy. So there are different moments that brought different emotions to me.
I find it very interesting that of all the things you talked about, only one of them is really an outcome, which is the NASDAQ. Everything else is actually input.
Yes.
Right?
Thank you. Yeah.
So that's very interesting. So okay, a few more questions. One book you think that every founder should read?
I read physics, I do mathematics and theoretical computer science. By and large, I didn't read management books. Sorry to say that. Okay. However, in the last 5 years, I am reading a few books on Stoicism. All of you know what Stoicism is. Stoicism is all about building resilience of mind or emotions, resilience of emotion. Stoicism is realizing that there's only so much control over you, over what happens around you. Stoicism means controlling your anger. Stoicism is trying to be as courteous as possible in difficult situations, even when the other party has done something wrong. Of course, as you know, this Stoicism was founded by a Greek merchant called Zem. He was producing dye for the rich people who used to use the dye to paint themselves to show that they were very rich people. But due to an accident, his ship sank and he lost all the money, all the money. And he had to walk 100 miles to Athens. And in the process, he started thinking. In some way, this was 300 BC. I think it's probably around the same time as Mahabharata. Maybe Mahabharata, maybe it's older also, I don't know. It is the concept of sthita prajna that we all see in Mahabharata, in Bhagavad Gita. That is to become a sthita prajna. Of course, sthita prajna is almost asymptotic. I haven't seen anybody who has reached that. But on the other hand, Stoicism is something that you can control. I personally feel, Mohan, if you people can introduce a course on Stoicism, you can call it whatever you want because, Indian version, all of that. But there are probably 500 books on Stoicism in the West. I don't know how many we had on Sthita Prajna in India. So if you people can introduce, that is something that all these, these are all of course alumni, all the wonderful youngsters who are going to be leaders, they need to learn and they need to practice this. Please look at it.
Probably even more important in today's 10 second attention spans.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The next one, what is a organization or institution other than Infosys that you admire?
In the beginning, I decided that we will benchmark ourselves with different institutions in different functions. For example, in quality, it was Motorola. Of course, it doesn't exist today, you know very well. But at that time, Motorola was the last word in quality. In finance, it was General Electric. Or during Jack Welch's time, Potter. They were producing, they were improving the thing, they were controlling costs, all of that. And they were reporting well, disclosures, all of that. In human resources, at that time, I'm talking of late 80s and early 90s, it was Hewlett Packard because Bill Hewlett was still involved in Hewlett Packard and he was a remarkable individual. Later on, Carly Fiorina came and destroyed it. That's a different issue. But Bill Hewlett was an extraordinary human being. Therefore, we took Hewlett Packard as our example. And in terms of innovation, taking and branding, Microsoft had done a very good job. For example, Microsoft produced Word from WordPerfect. We all know that. It's not that they did, it was not their version. The original product was already there. They took ideas and they produced. But they branded very well. They had strategic thinking. The day they created Microsoft Office and the server, Exchange server, they realized that they were going to lock up all corporations. That's the beauty of strategic thinking. So in other words, in different areas, we looked at different. I deliberately did not look at any Indian company because, first of all, 99% of our revenue was coming from outside India. And number two, I realized that if we have to compete with those companies in the developed world, we have to learn how they do that. And the global market was so large. And in India, there was almost zero market. So therefore, we didn't benchmark with any Indian company. Though, I must say, in terms of the employee orientation, I think the Tatas did a remarkable job, whether it is Jamshedpur or, or J.R.D. Tata, etc., etc. I think they're second to none. Second to even Ratan, second to none in terms of humanistic behavior, in terms of empathy, in terms of understanding the problems of the poorer people, all of that. I think Tatas today have done a very good job, and there we did, of course, learn from them.
Great. So, last question in this round. You have done a lot of investments as well through Catamaran and possibly directly as well personally. So, is there one startup in India that excites you right now?
When I turned 75, now I'll be starting my 80th year from August, I decided to get out of every business. So at this point of time, I am not involved in any business. I don't interfere. They have excellent people at Catamaran, all the best. They have grown very well. We don't talk much about it, but it's a privately held company. They've done very well. So therefore, I don't think it is proper on my part to talk about any specific name, because my knowledge is half knowledge. And all that I would say is this: any company that has kept respect from the stakeholders is a company that I will stand up and salute.
I don't know if you all just saw that. We just saw a live demonstration of the trademark humility that Mr. Narayana Murthy is known for. Like, you should ask yourself how many of you would have given an answer that I don't know, or it's not fair on my part to actually say that, because I don't know enough about it right now. So that was, again, very inspiring. Thank you so much.
Very kind.
So last parting thought, one piece of advice for all of us.
Well, unlike the 70s and 80s, when I started out my entrepreneurship, when you went outside India, everybody pitied India. India was seen as a dirty country, lot of poverty. Everybody spoke only of poverty. Dirty roads, everything dirty, beggars, etc. But today, that scene has changed. There is a lot of appreciation for what India is doing. There is a lot of confidence in foreign investors. There's a lot of enthusiasm in the investors to invest in our country, both in terms of FDI and portfolio investment. So, you entrepreneurs are operating in a much more positive environment. So, please keep that in mind and ensure that use the power of innovation to continue to grow. There's only one instrument that all of us have for growth, and that is constant innovation. See, I used to tell at Infosys, whenever we came out with some new idea, then we came out with a lot of them. I insisted that after we used it for the first 6 months, we would deliberately disseminate it in the industry. Because I did not want our youngsters to sit on their laurels. I want them to work on the next innovation. Innovation is what creates a distinctive competitive advantage vis-a-vis your competitors. And in doing so, always look for what I term value leverage. Your job as an entrepreneur is to provide maximum value to the customer. As economists say, price in what you pay, value in what you get or what you seek. So therefore, the ratio of value delivered to the customer per unit price that you are charging has to be higher than any of your competitors. Let me tell you, as long as I was the CEO at Infosys, and perhaps a few years later, we used to get 25 to 30% higher rates with all our competitors. And that's why I walked out of that Fortune 10 company too, because I said, I'm not going to reduce. Because I'm giving you this value, nobody else is giving you this value. Look at the value leverage. Let me give you an example of value leverage. Supposing I come up with a gadget and I go to Suresh and then say, Suresh, my gadget will cost you 100 rupees, but using my mathematical modeling, I will show you that you have got 200 rupees of value, maybe by reducing inventory, maybe by increasing customer base, by reducing cost, whatever it is, by increasing productivity, whatever way. So what is my value leverage I am giving to Suresh? It is 200 over 100, which is 2. On the other hand, Mohan goes to Suresh and says, Suresh, I have this product which will give you 300 rupees of value. He will show his mathematical model, but I will charge you 120 rupees. I can guarantee you that Suresh will buy his product because his value leverage is 300 over 120, 2.5. No, the beauty of that is it's a true win-win proposition. Suresh is getting better value leverage and he is getting 20% higher price than me. So therefore, I would say that we have to look at value leverage. I forgot the question, so anyway.
I think you answered the questions. So I think basically try to optimize and build value leverage into whatever it is that you deliver. That's there.
Using innovation
Yeah.
every day, every week, every month, ask the question, am I enhancing value leverage to my customer, thereby increasing my recovery of price also? That should be the, it's, and as leaders, you have to communicate the power of innovation to everybody in the company. Let me give you, I'll tell you one story.
Please.
In 1992 or so, we conducted a seminar on innovation. 91. We held it in 4 languages. In other words, it was simultaneously translated to, from English to Kannada, Tamil and Hindi, because we had employees who spoke all those languages. And after about 3 days, one of the janitors by name Chandrapa, he is still there at Infosys, he came to my room. Bipin sir, you were all talking about innovation. Somehow I didn't understand it very well. Can you kindly explain? I said, please enough, I'll explain. I said, Chandrapa, you are in charge of cleaning 8 rooms every day. You use a certain cleaning liquid. You use a certain cleaning cloth. Today when you go there, you use a piece of cloth in one hand. Try and see if you can get 2 pieces of cloth and clean it with both hands and improve the productivity or improve the time you take to clean that room, table, whatever it is. That's one aspect of innovation. That is your improved productivity. Second, I said, go to the market and find out if there is, of course, every day you can't go, whatever, whenever you can, find out if there is a cleaning liquid which is cheaper or which cleans better. If you did that, you will be reducing the cost of cleaning. That's another aspect of innovation. And third, I told him, When you clean a table, try and count the number of specks of dust that are there on the table today. And then say, tomorrow I will reduce it by one, so that in the next 5 days there will be no speck of dust on the table. That is better. That is cheaper, faster, cheaper, better. As an innovation is all about doing whatever is necessary to make whatever each one of us is doing faster, cheaper, better. It may be re-engineering a product. It may be using a completely different product, whatever it is. So if every employee in the company gets that mindset, your organization will go like that. And please remember that innovation cannot be limited to some R&D share and none of that. No, that company won't improve. Yes, there are certain complex issues, only R&D can do that. But that mindset of thinking about how I can make whatever I do cheaper, faster, better has to be owned by finance guys, HR guys, software development people, facilities fellows, etc. That's what it's pleased to.
Thank you. Again, that made a lot of sense. Can we take one question? There's an interesting question that if you can spare a few minutes. So the question is about the employment opportunities that the ITES and IT industry created over the last 30, 40 years, right? They practically created Indian middle class and led to the development of our cities, all of those things, right? Today, there is a genuine concern that with the levels of automation and the level of AI-driven productivity that is happening, where are the jobs going to come from? So the question is, what industry could generate this level of jobs in the next 10, 20 years? Is there any hypothesis you have about that?
Well, again, AI is all about enhancing productivity. It is about reducing cost. It is about enhancing comfort. It is about reducing pain in surgeries and all of that, etc., etc. So AI is no different from any other technology. However, the reality is that certain jobs will be lost. For example, autonomous driving. Autonomous driving should come to particularly a completely indisciplined nation like India. Because the laws are coming this side, that side, P, all of that. On the other hand, imagine that there are no human-driven cars in India. Let me assure you, this will be exactly like a developed country on the road. So I am hoping that India would have autonomous cars very quickly, at least for my own peace of mind, because I can't sit in these cars. Now, the second, so some job will be lost, but there will be other jobs that will be created. Let me give you an example from my own thing. The most important thing that no AI in the near future will be able to do is defining the problem to be solved. In order to do that, you need human creativity. Let me give you the example of another technology. I don't know how many of you were here who were practicing the software training in the 70s. In 1975, there came a technology called case tools, computer-aided software engineering. At that time, there were zillions of articles saying programmers will lose their jobs, analysts will lose their jobs, etc., etc. But it didn't happen. You know why? The most powerful technology that exists in the world is the power of human mind. There is no technology that can come anywhere near the power of human mind. You know what the human mind did at that time? People started solving bigger and bigger and more complex problems. These case tools could not handle. And of course, they disappeared. By 80, they disappeared. And you know what happened? The moment the mindset shifted to solving more and more and more complex problems, there was so much demand for programmers. In fact, when I founded Infosys in 1981, I did it for two important reasons. One, there was introduction of what are called super mini computers. Super mini computers were basically computers that were somewhat similar, mostly similar to mainframes, but much cheaper. Whether it was VAX 11780 or Diligent Levy 8000 or Prime 750, etc., etc. The second part is they also had what we call OLTP, online transaction processing monitors. That is the ability to bunch a set of updates to the database in an atomic fashion, in an indivisible manner. That is, either you make sure that all the updates are proper to the database or none of them is. I don't want to take time explaining that to you. It's very simple. If A were to transfer money to B, first you have to find out if A's identity is okay. Then you have to find out if A has enough money to transfer. Then you have to find out if B is there exists. If then you have to transfer the money. You have to deduct from A. You have to add to B. Imagine if the computer were to fail in between, then you are going to leave the database in a very inconsistent state, right? All of you know that. What OLTP did was between whatever it's start and comment or whatever it is, I forget the words. They looked at the entire set of databases, tables, which are updated as an indivisible atomic unit. Either all is done or nothing is done. So when that came in 79, 80, I said, this is the time when there will be a huge demand for software because the prices had gone up. Therefore, middle-level corporations in the US will install a lot of computers. There will be department with computing, and only a small percentage of people who have a lot of money will use mainframe, but most corporations will use these computers. That's when I founded Infosys. So therefore, the point I'm making is, don't worry, every technology will result in loss of some jobs. But it is your job, it is the job of the leaders to think of how to create new jobs leveraging these technologies so that customer benefits, so that more and more customers benefit. Let me give you another example. In 1971, when Britain introduced the first, what we today call core banking solution in India, that is the entire banking automation, the unions wanted to go on strike. I think at that time either it was Harold Macmillan or Ted Heath, I don't remember, or Wilson, I don't know, who was the Prime Minister. He did something extraordinary. He called a few professors from Oxford, Manchester, Cambridge, Southampton, and a few from US. And he created a group wherein they were to sit down with the union leaders, well-educated union leaders, and convince them how they will actually create, how these technologies will actually create more jobs. Finally, those British Union fellows were reasonable, they accepted. You know what happened? There were 100 times more jobs. And imagine when, for example, in India, we first started something called ALPM, Automatic Ledger Post Emissions. Then the RBI decided that no, we should have core banking solution. Between 1980 and 2025, I think the banking jobs have increased at least by 100. So many LDMs are there, so many branches are there. So please, that's because the intellectuals amongst the population, they thought about how to use these technologies to create more and more jobs. So therefore, it is not the job of those union people. It is not the job of the bureaucrats. It is your job to think. That particularly institutions like Great Lakes, all of you have to think of, if AI were to be introduced into manufacturing, what are the areas where it is desirable to cut down jobs, and consequently, how do we create twice the number of jobs elsewhere? That's what I can go on and on for this for 8 hours, but that's the thing.
Thank you so much. I think I think the challenge is up to all of us to figure out how to use these technologies, and I think we'll be hearing some of that in the next panel, which will follow soon after this. But with that, let me extend my deep gratitude to you, Mr. Narayana Murthy, and we have please a big round of applause.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I think your insights and wisdom is inspiring as always. So we are using this occasion to recognize and express our appreciation for our key supporters, and I can think of no better than Mr. Narayana Murthy.
Thank you very much.
We are so privileged. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for.
Sir, thank you. It is our pleasure.
Welcome.
Let me just read the citation. Visionary, innovator, nation builder. Today, we honor a leader who revolutionized India's IT landscape and inspired a generation with his values-driven leadership. As the founder of Infosys, Mr. Narayana Murthy not only built a global technology powerhouse, but also championed integrity, innovation, and excellence, setting new benchmarks for ethical business and nation building. His belief in powered by intellect, driven by values, has shaped industries, empowered talent, and positioned India on the global stage. And we have embraced that motto as well at Great Lakes. For his extraordinary contributions to business, technology, and leadership, we are privileged to present the Distinguished Leadership Award to Mr. Narayana Murthy. Sir, your legacy continues to inspire millions and ours. On behalf of my entire team, I would like to get your blessings.
Oh, they're bothering with you.
Thank you. Yeah.
All the best. Thank you.